The internet is flooded with stories about the name Vincent. But I'm not going to repeat the obvious. Forget the bottle. Forget the motorcycles. Forget Van Gogh's ear. The name Vincent means the conqueror. But its most disturbing victories begin where people choose to walk straight into death. In 1985, the name Vincent wasn't associated with art. It sounded like cracking plastic and shattering glass. At the time, America was playing a deadly lottery. Only 14% of drivers wore seatbelts. People believed something insane, that in a crash, it was safer to be thrown out of the car than to stay inside. Earlier campaigns tried fear, blood, violence, but people just looked away. So the agency Leo Burnett made a different choice. They made death funny. And that's when they appeared. Vincent, an old, cynical crash test dummy in a gray suit, a tire mark across his face, a body covered in scars from thousands of impacts, and Larry, his younger partner, naive, still believing their job actually meant something. What most people don't know is that behind these dummies stood Hollywood's elite, the cinematographer of E.T. the Extraterrestrial, special effects artists from Star Wars. They built mannequins that looked almost alive. Vincent's voice carried the dry, worn humor of Jack Burns. Larry spoke with the voice of Garfield. The scenarios were absurd. A car slams into a wall at full speed. Cut. Vincent lies across the hood, his arm torn off, a hole through his head, and he's still complaining. You could learn a lot from a dummy. Buckle up. That irony saved 85,000 lives. By 1998, seatbelt use in the US had jumped from 14% to 87%. Two plastic bodies became national icons. Kids begged for their toys, figures of Vincent and Larry that literally fell apart on impact. Today, their original suits are preserved inside the Smithsonian Institution, placed among the most important artifacts in American history. Because Vincent proved something unexpected. Sometimes, to defeat death, you have to laugh at it. Sometimes, becoming immortal doesn't require smashing into a concrete wall. Sometimes, it only takes a phone call and 2 takes in a studio. In 1982, the name Vincent became something you could buy on vinyl. Fear pressed into sound. It didn't start that way. The track was originally called Starlight. Too bright, too clean. Producer Quincy Jones wanted something darker. The final rap verse? Written in a yellow taxi on the way to the studio. Then Vincent Price walked in. 72 years old, a legend of horror, who had never even used studio headphones before. The moment he heard Michael Jackson's bass, he literally jumped in his chair. But the second he stepped up to the mic, it worked. And that laugh at the end? It wasn't even in the script. The director simply said, "Vincent, give us something scary." He smiled and recorded a laugh that today, almost anyone on the planet would recognize instantly. But behind that moment is one of the most ironic mistakes in music history. He was given a choice: a percentage of the album's sales, or a $20,000 check. Vincent chose the check. He couldn't have known that Thriller would become the best-selling album of all time. That decision likely cost him 5, maybe 6 times more. A year later, Michael Jackson gave him a framed platinum record. Vincent looked at it and joked in interviews, "That's the only thing I got from 100 million sales." "I'm not upset," he said. "I'm just wounded." Vincent Price gave the world his voice and bought himself a place in eternity for the price of a used car. Vincent doesn't just leave marks on bodies, or voices that never fade. Sometimes, it shows up in choices that stop making sense entirely. In 2010, Vincent Kartheiser, known for playing a polished ad executive on Mad Men, gave a series of interviews that felt completely out of character. No car, no excess, no children, by choice. He called it a green lifestyle, and at first it made sense. But then he kept going. He started getting rid of everything. At some point, he looked around and thought, I don't want any of this. And that's when it crossed the line from minimalism into something else. He described his home as a wooden box, where he lived for several years like that. A tiny bungalow on a Hollywood street. No mirrors, no clutter, and eventually, no toilet. I don't have one, he said in an interview. I'll install it someday. For now, I just go to my neighbors. Journalists checked. It was true. No toilet, no mirrors, almost nothing at all. Later, he admitted he goes through phases, extreme ones. I'm an extremist, he said. I go all the way. He eventually stepped back, bought a car, probably installed the toilet. But that moment stayed, because Vincent didn't just reject comfort. He stripped his life down to the point where it stopped making sense. Sometimes, victory is just hearing a tiny cry through fire and smoke. April 23, 2016, the Bronx, New York. Flames tear through an apartment. Smoke fills every corner. Firefighter Vincent Martinelli, ladder 31, pushes inside. He's looking for people. Anyone. Then, he hears it. A faint sound, almost lost in the crackling fire. 4 kittens, trapped beneath the floorboards. Too small, too weak, with no way out. The fire is spreading. Time is running out. He doesn't hesitate. He gets them out. Alive. All 4. No cameras, no speeches, just the job. But one photo, taken by a colleague, changes everything. A huge man, covered in ash, standing in the ruins, holding 4 tiny lives like they're the most fragile thing in the world. And suddenly, the noise fades. When the New York City Fire Department shared the image, the world noticed. Thousands of people, maybe millions, because in that moment, they didn't see a headline. They saw kindness. Real, quiet, unconditional. And Martinelli? He said nothing. No interviews, no spotlight. To him, this wasn't a miracle. Just a call. On a Sunday. 4 tiny hearts, still beating. And a man who walked back into the fire. Not to be a hero, but because he already was one. There are thousands of names out there, and every single one hides a story, a mystery, something no one fully understands. So tell me in the comments, which name feels the most mysterious to you? Which one should I dive into next? Pick it, and maybe your choice will become the next story we uncover.